Hello people, welcome to Perth WAtch, your horology channel broadcasting right here from Perth, Western Australia. Today I have a prototype of the newest piece from FullGear watches, which are really, as far as I know, the only customizable Tritium lume brand in the world. They are based out of Hong Kong, and I've reviewed one other watch, the Pioneer before, so check that out if you wish. But this is going to be on Kickstarter in early September, I believe, with a very competitive price of 180 USD, subsequent MSRP at 260 USD. This is going to be called the Claymore Chronograph. So these are the choices that I've come up with, but let me just take you through to the customization module for me to show you what options might be available. Okay, so right here we have the module where you actually get to customize your watch on the FullGear website. This is just a prototype, but just to show you, there are a range of options of dials. This is the ash, and they've got an olive, which is a dark green, black, off-white, blue. The next step is a choice to add an initial if you wish to do that. Moving on, you get to choose the color for the 12 o'clock tube, color for the 369, and then all the other tubes. So you can actually go 3 different colors if you wish. And just to show you as well, you get to choose the color for the hands. As far as I know, they are only going to go with the Claymore hands, this kind of Claymore inspired baton hands. No other options on this module at present. And then moving on, you get to choose the seconds hand, which I generally go with the red color if I can. And then you get to choose also the sub-dial or sub-register hands, which I think mainly will be determined by the dial color that you choose. So probably dark colored if you're having a very light dial. And then movement wise, it's going to be only one movement. And then of course you get a choice of straps, which is Italian leather, which is the one I've went with. You get a canvas choice as well if you wish to go with that, as well as a range of NATO. Possibly they will expand that on the launch. And then lastly, sometimes there is some options for case back, transparent or not. At the moment, they have only done the solid one with the Knight stamp. So there we have it. That's the module. Let's get back to the watch. Okay, so now that you've seen the module, you can see what I've chosen here. So this is the ash dial, right, which has a very dark or black periphery. I've gone for the tachymeter bezel. They do have some kind of dive style bezels, but it doesn't look like the bezels actually turn. The case, you don't have a choice, not at least I wasn't given it. And then you can see the lume choices that I have made later when I show you a lume shot and the colors I've chosen. Gone with the black perforated Italian calf leather strap. Okay, so really those are the choices that I have come up with. The movement in here, so talking firstly about movement, is a Seiko Mecha Quartz hybrid flyback chronograph. So hybrid because it does have a kind of a mechanical type movement on the seconds hand here. And let me just start it so that you guys can kind of have a view of how this actually runs. So it kind of runs a little bit like a mechanical, with a sweep there, 1/5 of a second stop here on that central chronograph second hand, right? It's got a 60-minute totalizer at the 9 o'clock position, and the dial at the 3 o'clock is actually a 24-hour sub dial. There is no running seconds on this watch. This one does make use of a date display at the 6 o'clock position there. They're using a white disc with black writing. All right, moving on to the case then. I'm not going to read it all out. I'll let you see the measurements in there. I will say that the bezel is 44 millimeters across, but the case back or the case itself, if you measure the case only, is 42 millimeters. Okay, all the other measurements down the bottom that you can see there, relatively short lug to lug, which is fairly pleasing despite the large bezel on this case. Overall weight is only 75 grams with the leather strap here. Finishing wise, all right, circular brushing on the bezel, as well as the top surface of the lugs, as far as I can tell, fairly subtle. circular brushing on the bottom surfaces as well as on that case back, with longitudinal brushing on the sides of the case there, right? Overall, fairly subtle, not very, not gross brush strokes here, and I don't mind that they've gone for a fairly subtle brush. Screw down case back here with, a pretty nice deep stamp knight's helmet there, right? Matte finishing on the crowns and pushes. Because these are just a push crown, they're not screw down pushes. The overall water rating in this prototype is only 50 millimeters water resistance. Later on, they will put a sapphire crystal in here, and they tell me that the rating will be improved to 100 meters. Okay, moving on to the dial then. So what we have here is a vertical brushed ash colored dial, right? This is what I've chosen. It's got a black step on the periphery where the chapter ring is located, and I have to tell you, it's fully printed details. There are no applied elements in the logo or anything here, but of course it's got those embedded 12 tritium gas tube indices here, right? So that's kind of, I guess, a bit of application there, if you will. The main hands are brushed. They're kind of like baton hands, but they're a bit more stylized than that, with the partial skeleton in the middle here. So they tell me that's inspired by the Claymore, right? The large two-handed sword that the name of this watch comes from. It's got a needle for the central chronograph. I've chosen red color, and it's got needles, simple needles for the sub-registers. In terms of lume, 14 tritium gas tubes in total, and a lume shot right here, of course, for you to see how it glows in the dark. Of course, tritium doesn't fade overnight, and you can see the color combination that I've chosen here. Right, so moving on then, surrounding the dial is, a steel tachymeter bezel. In this case, it doesn't turn, and I suspect the other ones don't turn as well, even though they have a little bit more of a dive style marking, but I'll wait for confirmation from FullGear. Above that in this prototype is a high dome box edge plexiglass crystal, which I have to say I've really quite enjoyed. I really like the warmth of this, plexiglass, the distortion. If they move on to sapphire, which they will, I hope they preserve that shape. It's really quite a lovely shape. I enjoy that. I very much like the visual characteristics of domes like this one. That's the entire case description here. And moving on to the strap, then it's what they call Italian leather. It's perforated, I guess you can call a racing leather type of perforation. Simple brushed hardware, right? And it tapers from 22 at the case to 20 at the edge here, right? A fairly simple taper. And that's it, guys. That's the description. Let's put it on the wrist for a wrist shot for you guys now. And there we have it, guys. The FullGear Claymore Chronograph model on my 17 centimeter is definitely big wrist presence, but thanks to the lug width being relatively short, lug to lug distance, it kind of just sits okay, right? Thickness 14.5 millimeters. So that's how it sits. And because the thickness is broken up by case, bezel, and dome sapphire or dome plexiglass, it doesn't actually look as thick as, as it otherwise might. And there we go. That's the leather strap that it comes on. So fairly stylish watch. Okay, so let's get it off the wrist. Fairly tight because this is still a brand new leather strap here. What have I enjoyed about this? Look, I think FullGear really do offer a pretty solid package, right? It's a pretty good case. It's got some nice casework here, how the lugs come out of this, almost a UFO style case. It's going to have 100-meter water resistance when it comes with a sapphire. I think the crystal, contour is beautiful. It's just gorgeous, and I love the feel of the plexiglass. I wish they would give this as an option, perhaps at a lower cost. That's some feedback to FullGear. And it comes with the VK64 Seiko Mecha Quartz chronograph, which is not a weak movement, right? Yes, it is quartz, but it's a pretty good one with that sweep here. And the customization process, again, is quite fun. Not as much as the earlier Pioneer model, but hey, you do get to choose your tritium gas tubes. The only chance you get to choose that. And at the Kickstarter price of under 200, I reckon this is a pretty sharp offering, right? You're not going to get much better than that at that price range. as advertised, this is, as far as I know, the only customizable tritium lume watch so far on the market. Any weaknesses? Well, hard to complain really. I think it is on the large side. 44 on that bezel is large wrist presence, so it's not going to suit everyone, right? So just beware of that. And then I would say that this leather is rather average. Perhaps the canvas will be more impressive as it was in the Pioneer model. So just keep that in mind. Of course, this watch is just asking you to change it out for other straps, so this may not be a big bother to you. So there you go, guys. That's my review of the FullGear Claymore Chronograph on Kickstarter very soon. Let's flip it around now for the wrap-up. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that quick fire review. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Always look forward to the discussion from my viewers. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys again next time.